Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is Health in Nashville 2000, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about a Health in Nashville 2000, the director of the Metropolitan Health Department, Dr. Stephanie Bailey. And of course, Dr. Bailey, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
My pleasure.
And to, I believe, Dr. Bailey, talk about what I consider to be a very, very important topic, and to at least recognize that we are now moving into the 21st century. And what we'd like to do today is to get you to give us some idea as to where we stand in public health in metropolitan Nashville at this part of the very beginning of the 21st century. But before we do that, Dr. Bailey, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences that I know we've had you on a number of occasions and you've talked about some of this information, but there are still a large number of folks who might not be familiar with Dr. Stephanie Bailey and the fact that you are the chief health official dealing with the public health for the metropolitan area and et cetera. And so I think that sort of warrants and sort of justifies you giving us some information in terms of the career path and some of the things that you did that eventually led you to this very, very important and very, very significant position dealing with the health of the people in Nashville. Let's do it from that perspective.
Thank you. Some interesting, I had some interesting quick thoughts as your introduction. One is you used Chief of Health, and I kid Chief Turner and Chief Dozier, because whenever we're introducing ourselves as directors for the city, you'll see Chief Turner, Chief Dozier, Fire. I say Chief Stephanie Bailey of Health, you know, so that's good.
Chief, okay, do the chief thing.
Do my chief thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I came to Nashville by being accepted to Meharry Medical College, and that's where I got my MD degree, and then went on and did the traditional medical route residency in Atlanta at Grady, and then fulfilled my public health, National Health Service Corps obligation in rural Dixon County, and then came into Metro Health Department in 1981. And while there, went back and got my master's, and just sort of did my job well, and moved up through the ranks, as they say, and became Director of Health in 1995, having started out in 1981. So long time employment, I guess, with metropolitan government. And I try to still maintain my focus, whether I'm a physician in practice and I'm attending to that individual person and all that surrounds that individual, to population-based medicine, which is public health, that looks at the whole population as their patient. And that's where I find myself now, which is most exhilarating, to be able to help change policies and the system so that the population at large can be healthier, free from health threats, whether they're environmental or actual diseases, is just a tremendous motivation for me, keeping still the community at my core as the focus of why I do what I do. So that's how I've gotten to where I am, and what motivates me. Don't know too many dramatic experiences. I think if you maintain an awareness of continuously trying to learn and continuously trying to grow, then you're open to opportunities and moments so that, you know, you get to that next level.
Very good. You know, when you think about public health, what would you say the status of public health is in Nashville here? Looking at all of the various systems that you undoubtedly become associated with one way or another across the nation. Where do we stand as the status of our health here?
It's, the status of the health of the community is, it fares, if you look at all about 40-some cities across the nation that are comparable to Nashville, you'll find that Nashville falls within the middle of those list of cities, where we rank ourselves on some other things compared to access to care. We come out near the top. After all, we do have the major institutions. We have 7 or 8 hospitals here, and that's what you mean by access to care. But when you take and look at indicators that say how healthy we are, like infant mortality, infants dying before the first year of life, teenage pregnancy, social economic indicators like poverty and levels of education and crime and violence, then the data that we gathered, I guess about 4 years ago, place us near the bottom of a list of about 15 cities. So there's a lot of challenges ahead for us, and the biggest one is having us all have a sense of ownership of the health of our community. Quality of life issues, disease issues, just creating those communities that care, in the sense that we don't feel disconnected and we don't walk across the street from children when they come down, that we take ownership in what's going on, the development of our youth. So it's a whole big complex thing, and almost have to see it on several different planes. It's not just a straight linear thing that needs to happen, but it's several things that need to happen at the same time. And I think that over the last few years, while you're building the city for the business aspect, that we tend to forget that the human capital of this city is what makes this city great, the human capital. And you've got to invest in that kind of infrastructure, neighborhoods, people feeling valued, whether it's youth, whether it's elderly, whether it's mom and pop, whether it's whoever. And we have to have that sense before we can go forward and really overcome all, where we find ourselves ranking, among other cities.
I think, Dr. Bailey, we're getting ready for a commercial break here soon, but let me raise this question. It seems to me that Nashville has changed tremendously since you started as the director of Metropolitan Health. The business community, the entertainment community, the sports community, and et cetera, et cetera. How has this change impacted what you do as the director of health? I mean, the fact that we have a stadium and all of that activity, et cetera. I mean, what has that meant to your department or to the health of what you do?
I think, you can't grow a city without a strong economic base. Where I would interject public health is in the environmental justice issues and things like poverty and the job employment rate and things like that, because quality of life, whether I can put food on my table, whether I can work, whether I have access to things that the majority of the population have access to, are things that lead to healthiness.
Good, okay.
Healthiness is not just always disease entities. It's a state of mind, it's mental health, it's physical health, social health, spiritual health. But if I feel like I am not valued and I don't have a job, truly don't have a job or access to one, then it does affect. But as far as the entertainment aspect and the business, possibilities, I think it'll take a few years to really evaluate the impact on healthiness in the city from the physical structures. Now, have no doubt, I'm a Titans fan.
Oh, okay, and I can certainly understand that, and I think we all are. But I understand, and we do know that as we get ready for this first commercial break here, but we do know that there has been a tremendous growth and tremendous development in the downtown area and all of these areas, and I know that these areas have food services and et cetera, et cetera. That certainly puts more pressure in terms of your responsibilities and et cetera. But I was just curious to know in terms of exactly what does this mean. It has an impact on almost every aspect of society.
Every aspect, and particularly in the health department, yes, we do.
And let us